Now, people were saying that Archer's theory gained more credence after 1059. So now I'm inclined to be like, okay, maybe I should check that theory out. And now it's a pretty long theory, but if you guys are interested, I would want to watch and react to that. I could do that this stream. I could do that at another stream. I was thinking I'd do it this stream. Okay, I'll do a reaction. I see people wanting it. All right, let's do it. Also, let me just say, this is fun. I didn't know you guys would be so down for me reacting to things. I would have done it way sooner if I'd known that this is the case, because I want to react to it. I think that'd be fun.
Just like he told Rayleigh, but at the end of it, he wants to do something that is so naive and childlike that is so fitting of his personality. And in fact, we might even be able to deduce where Luffy got this theme from. From the very...
Alright, so my thoughts so far. I think that we didn't need all of this shit. Maybe it's because these are talking points that I just go over like in a million of my videos many times. So maybe I just... But I also don't think we didn't need a lot of this stuff. But I like Archer... So here's the thing. So when I heard Archer's theory earlier, it's like Luffy's dream is a big party, etc. That's kind of, you just see it in tweets and random stuff like that, and people kind of disparaging. But that's like a little unfair to him because it's, you want the full context of how he explains it, right? Like usually an idea sounds a little funny on the surface, but with the proper explanation, yes, it is undoubtedly true to Luffy's character. Undoubtedly true to Luffy's character. I mean, the first crew member he wanted for the longest time was a musician because he loves that part of the story so much. And no matter how you spin it, like, the ending section of One Piece arcs, always making that a big part of your celebration, that is a, you know, that's a staple of the series. That's like a key characteristic, and that usually is a point in the story where all characters have essentially, by that point in the story, everyone has set aside their differences, right? Everybody's learned something, right? There's no more sense of conflict. There's pure camaraderie. The One Piece parties, they set up a sense of pure camaraderie in a way that, I don't know, even other shonen celebration. I just love the One Piece celebration scenes, right? I love them quite a bit. Enies Lobby is obviously a great example of like lots of opposing forces that now are all together, etc. At the end of the party. Skypiea, obviously an even better example. I see it. I think one of the biggest things to... I'll keep watching the video or whatever, but I think one of the biggest things that I want to see connected here is basically like the idea that, I guess, like, what is the deeper reason behind it? We kind of get that, but I don't know if like this side of Luffy's been fleshed out enough for me to say concretely like this makes sense. So we know that one of Luffy's main things is that he wants everybody that he cares about, right, to be able to have as much as they want, right? That was something established at the end of Kaido. That's an ideal world for Luffy, where all of his friends are able to eat as much as they want. That does play pretty well into the idea of a party, right? Because really, what's Luffy really saying, right? If he's saying that what I want at the end of the day is a really big party, what is his actual desire there, right? Is he saying that he wants a world where there's no sense of larger conflict, there's pure absolute freedom, everybody's able to join hands and be friends with each other? If that's what's being said, I think that, like, it's hard to explain because that's something that tends to organically come out of Luffy's actions anyway, but he rarely, if ever, like, I think the Kaido quote that he said at the end of that battle, that's the closest we've ever gotten to Luffy kind of expressing his idea of like what he wants society to look like or what the world to look like for other people, right? Not just himself, not just I want to be free, I want my crew to be free, I want to be able to travel the seas as I want, I don't want to rule anything, Pirate King is just the freest man. The Kaido quote is the closest to us understanding what does he want beyond that, right? It would potentially lead to something like this, but I think that looking throughout the story, it's hard to make a great case for this just yet. I think we still need like a little bit more from Luffy's character himself for me to feel like this is something intentional that Luffy strives for at the end of each storyline, like, versus this is just something fun that he happens to really enjoy that comes organically with doing adventures, basically. But I like where Archer is going. I see it much better now than I did before when people were just throwing it out as like a random thing. You know? Sheriff Laffy said, isn't the giant party theory just Big Mom stream? I think Oda will be more unique for Luffy. So the idea in general is that a lot of One Piece villains, and particularly he's been doing this with the Yonko, they have similar ideals to Luffy, but there's something flawed about the way that they go about it or how they envision it, right? So quick examples being Kaido and Luffy both, over the course of the Wano arc, they both talk about how they dislike the idea of the class system, right? They both address that. Right? That's something that comes out for both of them, Luffy throughout the course of the series, but Kaido in general, right? But Kaido's solution, or what he envisions as a world of freedom, where there is no sense of hierarchy or class, It's more so just a state of nature where strength might makes right? And that's not how Luffy views it, right? He wants to make sure that everybody has everything that they need, at least all of his friends do, right? Similar with Blackbeard and Luffy, they both pursue freedom, right? They both have some vision of a free world. Blackbeard's is much more chaotic than Luffy's, right? So you look at Big Mom, right? So Big Mom does have this dream, in theory, of like everybody sitting at the same table, same level, eye to eye, right? And she's going to be the one who makes that happen. But how does Big Mom want to go about creating a society like this? That's the big difference, right? So the big difference is blah, blah, blah. Where are we at? A deal with the devil makes Totaland serene thanks to our loving queen. Basically, if you read this entire chapter, to build a place of happiness, a world of pure tranquility, where all the races of the globe are treated with normality. So she's talking about an ideal world, kind of like Luffy's, where everyone's together. But if you leave, you'll have to face your imminent mortality, right? Over the course of this whole chapter, she kind of breaks down what she views as a perfect world. The difference is that she would enforce it. Everybody has to be good, otherwise they get punished by her, right? This even goes back to her backstory, right? This is just how she grew up. I wanted them to be friends because fighting is bad, so I put them in a cage. Mr. Bear ate Mr. Wolf. It was very naughty, so I spanked him. Basically, like, if you go through Big Mom's character, her whole thing is, yes, she'll create an ideal utopia where everyone lives in harmony, but at what cost, right? The cost is that she's forcing you to do certain things, right? She's forcing you to be good. She really is a giant, all-powerful mother, right? So that actually adds more credence to Arthur's idea being correct, because we have a villain that has a contrasting, or I guess a similar but different sort of dream, right? So it adds more idea to the notion that Luffy will eventually create something that is a better version of what Big Mom had, because he has the right mentality behind it. So I wouldn't love the party theory, but I'm not talking about whether or not I like the theory, right? It's more so, do I see the argument behind the theory? I see the argument behind the theory for sure. Sheriff Lafitte says, well explained. Big Mom is so interesting. I hope she has a coherent, interesting, and satisfying conclusion to her character arc. Yeah, that's going a little too far.
And in fact, that might be why Luffy declared to Shanks that he would become the Pirate King, because becoming the Pirate King was the only rational way to achieve.
I mean, unless you think that she's coming back, then maybe she does. But I think Oda's done with her. Maybe not.
Goal that only.
I mean, like, not only did Big Mom, like, let's not forget, not only did Big Mom, like, go down in the most embarrassing way possible, right? Her crew, like, look at this. Big Mom's crew was bad at, like, okay, compare Big Mom's crew that we once saw, and, like, this was once Big Mom's crew, right? Terrifying, right? There's a storm, like, it's just such a cool scene. See the whole island engulfed by storm. It's Big Mom's power, forces of evil coming out, etc. And now look at them. They were just a bunch of scrubs at the end of the day. Like, look at, this is a cover page. Come on. Look at this shit. This is Katakuri and Ovid. They can't even keep, like, they're, like, pretty much just Caesar broke them out of there. Like, pretty much just Caesar's fucking stupid ass gas did it. What is this? Keep in mind, the Straw Hats trying to get out of Whole Cake Island with all these forces after them was basically hell. That was essentially an entire arc. That was the whole third act of Whole Cake Island. Germa 66 trying to break out of Whole Cake of Totaland. That was like, that happened in basically 10 cover stories. So essentially 10 panels. Right? It's it. This is it. They're out of there now. It's not that hard to get out of a Yonko's empire once the arc is over.
Luffy always insisted on having a musician from the very beginning. Is it just a gag, or is it because a musician?
He brings up the musician thing. Yeah, the other thing I kind of like about this is that this would give... I've always seen it as, like, all of the Straw Hats in my mind are set up in some manner to have some role to play towards the end of the story. I talk about this in a series of videos about the Straw Hats' final dream, so I kind of go through everybody, right? I think everybody has some significant, unique role that they can play, and it's attached to their own dreams. So some things that I talked about were obviously Robin and the true history. I think that Chopper curing the incurable disease that Luffy very well may get by the end of the story, like, that ties into what took Roger down, but also ties into, you know, Chopper getting to fulfill his dream when it's most important, curing Luffy, right? Frankie, I think it is very, very, very likely that Frankie builds Pluton or something similar to Pluton at this point in the story. It just sounds important. Sanji, all blue. I think that Sanji, it was important. Like, so the Brook thing plays in here, right? I think Sanji, all blue. I think all blue is created with the destruction of the Red Line, in which case, like, Sanji is crucial in the sense that he's able to likely be a big part of the final. Like, he's going to be the guy cooking for the final feast at the end of the story, probably with the fish that come from the All Blue that could be created from the destruction of the Red Line, right? Brook never quite fit in. Brook was cool in that, like, probably if the Red Line's destroyed, right, you have to destroy it at 2 points, so you destroy it Reverse Mountain, so you get the reunion between Brook and Laboon, and Brook's story kind of wraps up there, but Brook doesn't have anything that really contributes to Luffy's dream in that sense, right? Like, you know, Nami, I expect her to be key to getting them back around the world to fight at Marijois or wherever they need to be, because she's made a map of all the islands, right? Like, I can go down the list and be like, this is how this Straw Hat could contribute, and it ties into their story, etc. But with Brook, it would make sense if, like, if Luffy's whole dream encompasses also a party, then you want basically the best musician in the world to provide the, I guess, live entertainment for that, I guess. So the same way that Sanji's contributing at the end, you could say that Brook's contributing. I don't know, just something small that I think adds more value to Brook down the line. I think, like, kind of like the more emphasis that Oda plays on, like, the importance of these parties and these celebration things throughout the story, like, the more value that someone like Brook has. Because at the moment, it's like, he doesn't quite have as much value as the other Straw Hats overall, right? But if Oda really wants to say that, like, no, the party parts of the story really, really are important, that's what everyone's ultimately fighting for, then yeah, like, the guy that makes, you know, it's not a party till Brook shows up, the guy that makes that the case, I guess he is fairly important. So I'm still entertaining this theory in my head. This is where we call it a close here. I like this video, Archer. If you're watching this, I like the video. I would have skipped large portions of this. I did skip large portions of this and this, but I think that there was some real juice over here that did get me thinking about a lot of things that I hadn't thought about. So yeah, props, dude. I liked watching this video.